When I began this battle, my soul was so damn fragile. I was looking at life through a fog. I lost my baby girl and they killed my dog. I was laying on the bottom feeling sad, thinking about doing bad things, raging fucking mad. I couldn't understand why I was chosen. Then it led to my rage and explosion. I am the one who can make this better. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for my biggest fight. Wrap your kids in the Bible. Wrap your kids in the flag. CPS is from the devil. Y'all know that it's a fact. I'm a father that went to jail. I cherish my daughter. It was nothing when they come for her and me. There should have been a slaughter. Stand with us. Make parenting great again. Abolish CPS. Ambush with the black SUVs. They come armed, they came for me, and they came for her. Stand with us, make parenting great again, abolish CPS. They took her from me, she's across the state. Gone for a year now, taken away. All these people who have written me off, I'm here to show my face and tell you you're wrong. I never was as good as you, and for the record we know that's not true. I'm not trying for a comparison. How dare you, you're embarrassing. I don't wanna be as good as anyone else. I fight this battle, I fight for myself. I am the one who can make this better. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for my biggest fight. I don't care about your judgment, I'm glad you gave us this test. But when your life is over, will your heart sleep quietly in your chest? I've got more life to live. As a matter of fact, it's just beginning. I've been given a challenge and my daughter is waiting. It's a fight I can't walk away from, a new life we are creating. So why you sit there mouth full of hating? Be sure my mind is planning on invading. I've got a war to fight and I'm on. I won't give up, I need to win, this is bigger than you. I don't expect you to understand. I am the one who can start over. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for the biggest fight. I won't be left behind. This is the time, I call it mine. Step out of the way unless you wanna play Trump. Stand with us. Make parenting great again. Abolish CPS. There is no time for bickering. The clocks are flickering. Pick up your weapon and join me. If not, go back to ignoring me. I will be on top. Pistol going pop, pop. Money falling from my pockets. You'll still be lying on dockets. So fuck you.
In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
Hello? Hello? Is anybody listening? Anybody? Is anybody out there?
I got him. I did get him.
Well, hello. Good evening. Welcome to Late Show. I'm Gunner. Hopefully this evening the CPS Punisher will be with us this evening. Welcome to the late edition show. We're bringing slowly back a lot of our older shows as well as some new shows that are happening. Just to give you the lowdown, the new show for mental health is going to be kicking off this Monday. Beauty in Ashes with Sharon Evers, the better half of things. And that's going to be airing first time this. Oh, you'll have to forgive me here and work with us. It's going to be airing this Monday. It's going to be right after the Tiff and Punisher show. So we're going to be looking at 9 to 10 o'clock. So if you guys want to come and check that out, that new show, as well as my regular scheduled show every Sunday, gunning for CPS. Let me get the earphones on here. I don't know if it, there we go. So, what we have going on here is a couple of new shows kicking off, some of our older shows coming back. Tiff and the Punisher every night about 7:30 p.m. to there. Bring Back Brenda is Wednesday through Friday. A lot of new exciting things. A lot of things are going on, guys. I know Darren and I have just been slammed busy with research and everything else, where a lot of people are asking about the letters and everything that are going out. Guys, we're working on it. We're making it bulletproof. This letter is just going to really blow your damn mind. And then Chris is Chris, I believe yours is coming up. We've got a couple of those going on. Chris has got her new show. What was the name of the show again? And I don't know if Chris, have you got your show scheduled for a certain night during the week? And I know there's a delay, guys, so it comes through there. I didn't forget. I didn't know there was a scheduled time. And yeah, it's been 1,000 things. Matter of fact, just this evening, I was speaking to actually a potential witness that was actually part of a huge trafficking case that actually is going to, we're looking at getting a district attorney and a lead investigator to actually testify and give some evidence, as well as some of those things to there. Chris, I didn't forget. I didn't know that you were on that had been scheduled yet. So that's why I was announcing what was scheduled from there. I believe Chris is working on hers. We're ironing out some of the few pieces. Once it gets in, no one contacted me. Well, hopefully Darren's going to be in here, popping in here sometime tonight, to do the late show here. And then he's going to reach out to you. Please understand, he's been catching up, but I will remind him as well. First off, let's get into a couple things here. There was a lot of things that's happened this past week. We're going to get into a couple things in a couple videos. Let's start off with, let's see. Is that this one here? This is RFK. Showing what was going on with the immunization, COVID-19, and everything else. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is where, RFK has used a lot of not mainstream media, but a lot of podcasts, and a lot of other news sources actually that is getting the news out there that is a whole lot more unusual when it comes to news. But a lot of the stuff that he says, major media is actually taking and blocking a lot of that. So they're finding out using podcasts and other groups and this that is actually getting the word out and getting more information and such out there. But here, let's take a look at this.
Made sure that none of those kids had guardians, which is illegal. And then he hid what he was doing from the boards. He took foster homes in 6 states and he turned them over to the pharmaceutical industry. He made sure that the people who were running those foster homes did not even have medical training. Most of them were immigrants who came from the Dominican Republic. They knew nothing about medicine or responsibilities, and they were sickened when they realized slowly what they were involved in doing to these children, that they were torturing these children. And there's videos of these children, an old BBC documentary that will make you cry. I promise you cannot look at these without weeping. One of these kids, a 12-year-old who's trying to protect the 8-year-old, and he has a tube in his stomach. And he's telling them, I tried to fight them, and this is what they do. If you fight them, you can't fight them. You need to just take the drugs. And the kids didn't want to take them because the drugs were making them horribly sick. And Celia Farber, who's this amazing researcher who worked on this chapter for me and did a lot of the original research on it, she actually went up to Hawthorne, New York, to the Gates of Heaven cemetery. She found the cemetery where Fauci was disposing of the corpses of these children who died in his illegal experiments. She found an open pit. It was actually covered by an astroturf carpet. She opened the astroturf carpet and she saw hundreds and hundreds of tiny little coffins stacked haphazardly upon each other, because these are children who have no parents and nobody was there to protect them. And Tony Fauci treated them as collateral damage, and his objective was to enlarge the markets for these pharmaceutical companies who he had partnered with by allowing HIV, these toxic chemotherapy drugs, to be given to children. And then the next experiments, which are in the next chapter, which are equally horrendous, is his experiments on Africa. Tony Fauci made sure that none of those kids had guardians, which is illegal. And then he hid what he was doing from the boards. He took foster homes in 6 states and he turned them over to the pharmaceutical industry. He made sure that the people who were running those foster homes did not even have medical training. Most of them were immigrants who came from the Dominican Republic. They knew nothing about medicine or responsibilities, and they were sickened when they realized slowly what they were involved in doing to these children, that they were torturing these children. And there's videos of these children, an old BBC documentary that will make you cry. I promise you cannot look at these without weeping. One of these kids, a 12-year-old who's trying to protect the 8-year-old, and he has a tube in his stomach. And he's telling them, I tried to fight them, and this is what they do. If you fight them, you can't fight them. You need to just take the drugs. And the kids didn't want to take them because the drugs were making them horribly sick. And Celia Farber, who's this amazing researcher who worked on this chapter for me and did a lot of the original research on it, she actually went up to Hawthorne, New York, to the Gates of Heaven cemetery. She found the cemetery where she disposed of the corpses of these men who died in his illegal experiments. She found that covered that she's hundreds and hundreds because these are there to protect them. And Tony Fauci treated them as collateral damage, and his give was to enlarge the markets for these pharmaceutical companies who he had partnered with by allowing HIV, these toxic chemotherapy drugs, to be given to children. And then the next experiments, which are in the next chapter, which are equally horrendous, is Tony Fauci made sure none of those kids had guardians, which was illegal. And then he took 6 states and he took industry, made sure that people who were running those foster homes were not even happening. Most of them were came from the Dominican Republic. And you nothing up medicine or responsibilities, and when they realized slowly what were involved in these children, that they were torturing children. And because of these children, BC doctor, you cannot use without weeping. One of these kids, a 12-year-old, who's trying to protect the 8-year-old, and he has a tube in his stomach. He's telling them, I fight them and do if you fight them, you can't fight them. You need to take the kids and take the drugs or make them horribly sick. And Celia Sharp, the state researcher who worked on this chapter for me and did a lot of the original research on it, she actually went up to Hawthorne, New York, to the Cabot Cemetery. She found there where Fauci was disposing of the corpses of an aster carpet. She opened the aster carpet and she saw hundreds and hundreds of tiny
Sorry, guys, we were having some technical difficulties there. It's been popping in and out. But I want to talk about what he's talking about with Anthony Fauci and using select foster homes to do drug experiments on children. And a lot of people, if you don't know, I've actually got a video that's posted to my YouTube page on Gunning for CPS. It's called The History of CPS. This is the same thing that they were doing in the sanitariums that Ronald Reagan shut down for the same exact reasons. And when they shut those down, those people never went away. They just rolled over into CPS. So Ronald Reagan shut those down, defunded them, started closing them and reintegrating those individuals that were there in our society and saying, listen, they really need to take and live in our society, and we need to learn how to live in homes, live in society, and actually be a productive member of society where they can. Where that's not happening, and it's the same thing that that the same organization, the Department of Health and Human Services for each state, ran a sanitarium, and when they busted down the walls, Chris, good night. I hope you get to feel better. I'll give you a call tomorrow. And I did send you a text on your phone, so just reach out for that, and then I will get with Darren. A lot of this too goes back to the sanitariums, and nothing ever changed. The same evil substance that they were talking about in that video that's on my webpage or on the YouTube news channel page was the fact that this organization never died. It just transformed. And if you look what was going on there in the sanitariums, they were doing the same contracts they had with doing experiments on kids and adults and everything else with human drug trials. They were also going in there, and a lot of the pedophiles and everything else were going in there for these kids that were Down syndrome, autism, this and that. They were raping these kids over and over again. Sometimes when they just died, they just disposed of the body and wrote up the paperwork as though it was nothing. If they ended up getting somebody pregnant, some of the females, and yeah, they were doing both males and females, during that particular time. And it's really disgusting when you get down into that rabbit hole. But the children that were took and produced, they would cover it up. They would deliver the babies in the sanitariums, and then they would literally ship them with no social security number, no identification, no nothing. And these children would go on the black market, and they would be sold and transferred over to places like California. And literally there's a whole international report, and it's in that video, of what they were doing. So this is just the repetition of history. That's why this whole organization needs to be completely abolished. 100%. So that's a huge thing, is just total abolishment. Because we see that, when they tried to shut it down under the sanitariums, all it did was transform or mutate over into CPS. And then under the Family Adoption and Cares Act, under President Clinton, it weaponized it. Here, let's get some money in there. And I know it's not one side of the aisle or the other, but mostly one side of the aisle instigated a lot of this stuff. And they were making tons of money off this. And they're getting into, and DOGE and some of the others are getting into, and a lot of other things of even going through a lot of sitting politicians in senators and representatives in the House of Representatives, of the mass corruption and kickbacks and money and all the other stuff they were getting. And even to find out, like the state of California recently, it was revealed that they had too many representatives in the House of Representatives for California. Why? Because they were counting illegal votes. So they're stacking the deck against the people. And this is that deep state, that corporation, that dark government that's out there, that's never went away, and their ideals never went away. They just found a way to relabel it. That's why, the importance of doing what we're doing with this case is shutting all of it down, holding everybody accountable 100%, and saying this system should not even exist. It's not constitutional. And they're breaking constitutional rights even within their training to do that they feel that they're above this. And the states have even gone in and allowed this to happen, even giving a stand down order in all 50 states to law enforcement not to interfere with CPS. Now, Texas did make some changes in those laws, but that doesn't change the training and the things that they've been taught, because they're still practicing them in Texas. It doesn't take much for Facebook, YouTube, a lot of those others that are showing those same instances. They're still doing the same thing. And unless we gut the system and remove every bit of it, I mean, it's just going to continue on. It's going to it's something that just needs to die. And the thing that, that triggered the sanitariums closing was the revealing of what was going on in those sanitariums. And then, like I said, there's a lot of things that are coming to light that a lot of people don't understand. And I know, on the Late Show, that's kind of like what we deal with, is the stuff they don't want you to hear, the news that they don't want you to see, those type of things. And here's another video, and this is from the senator from Kentucky, that is before on a subcommittee that well, let's just see what he has to say.
1967 that was published in Harper's Magazine. It was called Not Yours to Give. It's the story of Davy Crockett as a congressman in the late 1820s. Like most stories of that vintage, some will argue that the story is an accurate rendition, while others may say it is apocryphal. The moral of the story, however, is incontestable. Davy Crockett only served 2 terms in Congress, but on one day in Congress, he was confronted with a bill to give money to the widow of a military officer. Davy Crockett arose and gave this speech. Mr. Speaker, I have as much respect for the memory of the deceased and as much sympathy for the suffering of the living. If suffering there be as any man in the House, But we must not permit our respect for the dead or our sympathy for a part of the living to lead us into an act of injustice to the balance of the living. We have the right as individuals to give away as much of our own money as we please in charity, but as members of
Individual liberties
Congress,
is
we have
what
no
he's talking
right so
about
to
there.
appropriate a dollar of the public money. Davy Crockett continued, I'm the poorest man on this floor. I cannot vote for this bill, but I will give a 1 week's pay. I will give my check for 1 week. And if every member of Congress were to do this, it will amount to more than this bill asked for. When Crockett finished, there was silence, and remarkably, the bill failed. When later asked for an explanation, Davy Crockett explained. He said, several years ago, I was standing one evening on the steps of the Capitol when we saw a large, great light over Georgetown. It was evidently a large fire. We jumped into a hack and drove over there as fast as we could. In spite of all that could be done, many houses were burned and many families were made homeless. And besides, some of them had lost all but the clothes they had on. The weather was very cold. And when I saw so many women and children suffering, I felt that something must be done. The next morning, a bill was introduced appropriating $20,000 for their relief. We put aside all other business and rushed it through as soon as it could be done. Later in the year, when Davy Crockett was back in Tennessee, he ran into a constituent by the name of Horatio Bunce. Crockett asked him for his vote, and Horatio Bunce responded thusly. He said, "You'd better not waste your time on my vote. I shall not vote for you again. Your vote last winter shows that either you have not the capacity to understand the Constitution or that you're wanting in honesty and firmness to be guided by it. Because the Constitution, to be worth anything, must be held sacred and rigidly observed in all its provisions. The man who wields power and misinterprets the Constitution is more dangerous the more honest he is." Horatio Bunce continued. He says, "No, Colonel, there's no mistake. The newspapers say that last winter you voted for this bill to give $20,000 to some who suffered from a fire in Georgetown. Is that true?" Congressman Crockett answered him, "Well, my friend, I may as well own up. You've got me there. But certainly nobody would complain that a great and rich country like ours couldn't give $20,000, the insignificant sum of $20,000 to relieve its suffering women and children." Horatio Bunce replied to Congressman Crockett. He said, "The power of collecting and dispersing money at pleasure is the most dangerous power that can be entrusted to a man. While you are contributing to relieve one, you are drawing it from thousands who are even worse off than he. If you had the right to give anything, the amount was simply a matter of discretion with you. And you had as much right to give 20 million as to give 20,000. If you have the right to give to one, you have the right to give to all. And as the Constitution neither defines charity nor stipulates the amount, you are at liberty to give to any and everything which you may believe or profess to believe as a charity, and to any amount you may think proper. No, Colonel Crockett, Congress has no right to give charity. Individual members may give as much of their own money as they please, but they have no right to touch a dollar of the public money for that purpose. If twice as many houses had burned in this county in Tennessee as had in Georgetown, neither you nor any other members of Congress would have thought of appropriating a dollar for our relief." Bunce informed Crockett that if each congressman had shown their sympathy for the fire victims by giving 1 week's pay, it would have nearly covered the cost. But it was easier simply to give other people's money. Bunce continued, "The people about Washington no doubt applauded you for relieving them from the necessity of giving. Giving was not what was not yours to give. The people have delegated Congress by the Constitution the power to certain things. To do these, it is authorized to collect and pay monies, and for nothing else. Everything beyond this is usurpation and a violation of the Constitution. So you see, Colonel, you have violated the Constitution in what I consider a vital point. It is a precedent fraught with danger to the country, For when Congress begins to stretch its power beyond the limits of the Constitution, there is no limit to it and no security for the people. Today, we are faced with a vastly greater sum of money than $20,000. We are faced with $40 billion to be gifted to Ukraine. A noble cause, no doubt, a cause for which I have great sympathy and support, but a cause for which the Constitution does not sanction or approve of. Now, we could ask, as Davy Crockett did, if each member of the Senate would like to contribute individually to Ukraine. But of course, that would simply serve to demonstrate the enormity of the gift. To come up with $40 billion, each senator would need to give $400 million. Not a likely scenario. It's much easier to spend such exorbitant amounts if you're spending someone else's money. But even if the senators won't agree to contribute their own money, surely we're a rich country and can afford it. Well, not exactly. The U.S. debt now approaches $30 trillion. In the past 2 years alone, we have added nearly $6 trillion in new debt. Inflation roars throughout the land, grocery bills are punishing the working class and poor, and gas prices exceed $5. Even before the pandemic bailouts, our country was running a $1 trillion annual deficit just to pay for its routine commitments. Putting aside the constitutionality of the $40 billion to Ukraine, isn't there a more fiscally responsible way this could be done? What about taking the $40 billion from elsewhere in the budget? The U.S. spends more on our military than the next 8 countries combined. Couldn't Congress simply shift over the $40 billion and not add to the debt? In the defense of Ukraine, if the defense of Ukraine is really in our national security interest, shouldn't the gift come from our military budget? What about cutting wasteful spending? My office cataloged over $50 billion in waste. I don't know about you, but couldn't we cut programs like the $1 million study to see if taking selfies of yourself while smiling and then looking at these selfies later on, if that makes you feel good? Or couldn't we cut the budget of the National Science Foundation that spends billions of dollars studying such burning questions as, do Panamanian city frogs have a different mating call than the country frogs? Couldn't we maybe cut the $2 million the NIH spent studying cafeterias to see if someone in front of you sneezes on the food, whether you're more or less likely to eat that food? Couldn't we maybe cut the money spent on Japanese quail, studying whether or not they're more sexually promiscuous or not when you give them? Or, if we're not willing to cut the budget at all, couldn't we ask the American people to stay up and pay a war tax? If this is really for our national security, it should be very popular with the people. Why don't we offer to tax them in exchange for this? Guess what? The American people don't want to cut spending anywhere in the budget, at least their representatives don't. They don't want to pay any taxes for this. They just say, put it on my tab. But we've been doing that for decades, and that's why we have a $30 trillion debt, and that's why we have roaring inflation. If you want to pay for this with a tax, you could triple the gas tax. I'm guessing that's going to be really popular, and people really want to send this money, so badly that they'd be willing to triple the gas tax. If we were honest, that's what the people who are for this would propose. Now, that would guarantee $5 gas for the foreseeable future. Alternatively, Congress could raise the income tax about $500 for every American taxpayer. I'm sure that would be popular. And for the people who think it's a great idea to send $40 billion overseas, why don't they just be honest with people and tax them? Here's your bill, Mr. and Mrs. America, $500 a taxpayer, and then what would it be paid for? No, it's like everything else. Put it on our tab. Well, Uncle Sam's tab is full. It is complete.
Wow. A little history, but a whole lot of insight. The irresponsibility of our elected and appointed officials of giving away your money and then padding, as the DOGE has turned around and exposed, padding their pockets. to do so. Well, let me sneak some in from my buddy here, and this and this and that. But nobody's willing to come off of their own paycheck. But yet, and a lot of people don't realize that, our president donates his salary to different causes and so on and so forth every month. That shouldn't come out of our pockets. And our representatives taking and doing things for the best interests of corporations and or other businesses is actually preposterous, let alone the misinformation and the things that the Department of Education has done. For example, that there you go. Got a new thing there. Make that a backdrop and we'll be good. That's actually a layover there. We're working on some new stuff and pretty cool. Looking forward to quite a few other things. But here's another truth. Oil does not come from dead dinosaurs. And oil is the second most abundant liquid on this planet other than water. Why are we paying so much when we keep saying it's going to run out, it's going to do this, it's going to do that? It's not. We have the largest oil reserve in the entire world that sits under the Rocky Mountains. That's proven. And yet we have passed bill after bill after bill after bill not to benefit the American people to go in there and get that to where we're back at under $1 a gallon. There's no reason not. Matter of fact, we've got so much it would wipe out every other market if we actually tap that. But the lies, the manipulation, the uncovering of the deep state, the corporation, whatever you want to call it, enough to kill a president. Actually, two. Abraham Lincoln, same thing, same institution, same thing. They wanted slavery. They wanted to enslave people, to control them, and only a certain select group to control. And it wasn't, such as a monarchy or a religion institution such as, the Church of England that had done that in England several times with our founding fathers. It actually took, and it was a group of individuals that had a financial vested interest to become extremely wealthy, secure their families. Even with coming over here, the Rockefellers and several of those other organizations, and a lot of them have come together to create an institution called BlackRock. And if you haven't done your research on BlackRock, they have got their hands in everything from food to farming to this to that, and everything that we have today that is poisoning us, killing us, big pharma, everything else, that all stems from that. That is why we are to the point of we the people have had enough, that even to the point of trafficking your children, experimenting on your children, doing what they want to do. They've got some very, some of these groups even connected to a religion, an organized religion, whatever different one, you can do that research on your own, to go through and then to find out with some connections saying, hey, we're seeing what you're doing. And they wanted to do it as far as a new world order. Those types of things of one world religion, one world, everything. Well, there were certain groups such as and we may get shut down for saying this, but it's the absolute truth, is a lot of the invasion when we were bringing in the immigrants and the refugees and this and that, over 80% of them were of Muslim descent. Either they were not extremists, as we say, but they did practice, and they practiced peacefully, some of them, but then you get others that come in that are extreme, that are actually practicing what's called Sharia law. And their version of everything is that anybody that doesn't convert, and you have to go back into their religion. Now, I'm going to say something that'll bother a lot of people, but yes, this is a certain sect of Muslims. Now, understand this too, if you go back in history, the Jewish culture has similar sex. And those are the ones that don't believe in Christianity or anything else, and anybody outside of you is dirty. It's very they just mirror each other so much, but they've got different methodologies when you go into their history of how they do things. When you go into, say, some of the Muslim religion, it actually says things in the Quran, if you've done the in-depth study, which I have, that they believe that the infidel, there, and I can't remember the other word for that they owe them a tax, that they shouldn't have to work, that they can live off the work of others, like as a superior race, and that if you don't convert, they'll turn around and basically it's a form of violence. And there's sex within, like I said, different things, and we've got a lot of those sects in a couple of those other religions here. But the point I'm trying to make with this is anything that wants to take and overtake the Constitution is an act of war against the Constitution and the people. They should not be here, because your goal is to overthrow our country and overthrow our Constitution and replace it. Well, with the Muslims, it's Sharia law. For the Jewish ones, it's the Torah, which is the law, which is what they call. But there's a lot of mimic between there. So we're getting a lot of history right here on our soil that really has nothing to do with our country. Our country was set apart to get away from all of that, practice as you believe, but practice constitutionally. In other words, I can't force my religion on you or my beliefs on you. Now, that word has come out a lot with separation of church and state and so on and so forth. That's not actually in the Constitution, the Declaration, or the Bill of Rights. That doesn't exist. That was a topic under the Federalist Papers that said, we should take and have this. But then the conversation came down to, well, you can't separate a man from his religion because his religion goes with him if it is true and into the core. Therefore, when a man or a person walks in as a public servant, there's no way to separate him and say, you have to leave your religion at the door and you have to come in here. No, that's what you bring in there. And we see this with Omar and Ortiz Jerez and a lot of these others that are in this is their objective. I don't understand why this is going on in Michigan. And I believe there's some things going on in Texas and a couple other places that are turning around, and they're basically, and even New York City, of having mock police cars and going out into the unbelievers area saying, no, this is a Muslim area. You can't drink alcohol. You can't do this. You can't do that. You are now forcing your belief system on me. That is a constitutional rights violation. You cannot do that. And if you're an immigrant doing that, that is grounds for immediate deportation under the Immigrant Act. You cannot do that. That is enough to get you kicked out of this country immediately. No second chance. No, there's no jury, anything on that. This is what you've been doing. Goes before your visa is now rejected. Get out of the country. You're gone. You're being deported. Why? I want to know why. And this is how corrupt it is why is Michigan and why is the state of New York and other places allowing these individuals with their religious beliefs, not having that, but shutting down streets to pray or do this and that? You are now interfering with the constitutional rights of our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, let alone our obligations. You are now you are in the way of it. You are blocking it. I can't do that. And when you do that, that is a crime. And that is the bottom line. And that's why we need to go back to the Constitution. That was an attack. And people utilized a movement such as the New World Order says, well, we'll be the New World Religion. And they walked through the door with it. And they got people with that were in the UN and everything else and did a relocation program. And it hit every single country. And if you guys follow my news and my personal page on Facebook, Gunning for CPS or Gunner Evers on Facebook, you will see some of the things that are going on in Ireland, internationally, with Ireland, Scotland, France, Spain. And they are, Canada is having that. Let's see, Ireland, Scotland, England. and this and that, and they have had enough. And they are literally in the street saying, we have had enough. Like Finland, boom, they've had enough. They're in the streets. They're kick people out. It's like they're fearing for their children at schools. I mean, it's that bad because they actually believe that they have a right to rape and pillage in anything they want, including your small children. That is their belief system because you are the non-believer. And they hate. And once again, if you won't convert, you're hated. Once again, you're 100% hated. And that's what it comes down to. You cannot coexist with somebody that wants to kill and hate you. This is one thing that has been proven through time. There was a reason that we had an act actually here in the United States not to let people from the Muslim faith even in our country, or extremists. It wasn't extremists. It's just your belief system does not fit with our Constitution. You can practice that, but the problem is it never goes throughout history. It's never done that, even in Iran, even in Mecca and some of these other places that have been over. Go back and look at the history. You have places like Iran and like, I think, what was it? Darren's in the back room there. I think the 70s and the 80s, beautiful women out towards to the lake in bikinis and everything else, beautiful, gorgeous women, dressing just as anything else. And now it's, they have the haba and the whole, the full dress and everything else. And they've got some of these women so brainwashed. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's just whack with some of the stuff they do. And some of the women come out, oh, well, this is why you should go. And they've actually attracted American women to convert and go over to their country, and they're trapped. They can't get out. And, all of a sudden they realize, hey, this ain't that. And some of that Americanism or that modern, especially some of the feminist movement went over there to do that. Well, I want to have that. No, they don't deal with that stuff. And let alone they have a belief of multiple wives and multiple this and child, a lot of pedophilia within their religion. They believe that they can do that. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, they're the kind of people, they won't do it themselves. And that was a lot of things for their soldiers that I've talked with, that's been over to, Operation Desert Storm and a few others in other places. We've had a lot of conflicts and stuff like that, especially over in the Middle East, that they'll come back and he says, I've never seen, he said, here's the thing, the cowards, they'd rather strap a bomb on a child or a woman than they would take and sacrifice their own lives. And it's just completely, sick. Yeah, Brenda, there's been clean sweep up in Nashville. There's been several. Matter of fact, a lot of people, I can't remember what the name of the movement is, but Trump actually signed something a lot of people don't realize too, is there is an international, he has deployed troops internationally to stop this national child trafficking ring, an international trafficking ring. We actually have soldiers on the ground in several countries, opening this stuff up left and right. And the stuff that's happening on over there, they're backtracing it over here to the United States. And that's where they're finding these cells that are trafficking these kids. This is not just one organization. This is, you've got the triads, you've got the, the extreme Islamics, you've got several other large, well-known institutions that traffic people. Now, a lot of the triads and a lot of the others will end up doing their own people and shipping them over here. But that's one of the things that there are organizations and institutions that should really bother us, that actually has international, and they call it international adoption. And it's what they specialize in. And they may have a different name or this, but it's all under the same umbrella. And they do bring kids in from other countries, but they also take American children and ship them overseas. Now, that's a huge problem because that child has constitutional rights. And even to be protected in this country, and for a company to sell an American to another country and give away their rights is just, it's an act of treason and sedition. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting for them to take and do this. And that's what really should bother us, is understanding there are legal institutions that have the paperwork and have the authority to take a child from America, an American, blonde hair, blue eyes, it doesn't matter anything, or how they get a hold of them, and send them overseas. And then what happens to them? They're gone. That's why that number went from 300,000 that RFK was talking about, that jumped another 200,000. Well, let's just say because we kind of told them about it, about these organizations that are doing this. So they're trying to catch the network, but they have to, how do we say this? You ever played the game? There was a game called Kerplunk when you were a kid. You put marbles in it and have the sticks and all this stuff. And you got to watch what stick you pull, not to drop too many of those things in. And that's what a lot of this has to do with, is this, they're slowly pulling out a stick and a stick here and a stick here, but it's got to be done strategically. They just can't come in and go, woof, it's not going to work. They need to make sure that if they want to properly gut this system, it has to be done a certain way. Otherwise, what will they do? Shut down, relabel, come under something else, and then start all over again. And then they have to search for them again. Now, Chris will tell you about several of the CPS organizations, because Illinois is one of those states that has subcontractors. So when they get in big trouble, one of the CPS subcontractors gets in huge trouble. Well, guess what they do? File bankruptcy, shut down, use the same people because it's the same stuff, ship them throughout the other parts of the state, bring other people that are part of the same organization in the state, and open a brand new business with a different EIN, FEIN number, this and that, and go through all the things. They have got them lined up a mile wide, and they have been doing this for a long time. That's why they're getting away with it. That's why they're so good at it, because they're not going after them and charging them with the criminal aspect of it and just letting them relabel stuff. And then they disappear. I mean, this is crazy, isn't it, Darren? I mean, it's just business.
They've been doing this. They've been doing this for how long? For real? How long? 1600s. They know what they're doing, and they can't take it all down at once, because they'll collapse our entire damn our entire government, our entire economic system will collapse. I mean, if you're not going to notice that look at every state, look at what their deficiency is in their budget. I mean, when was the last time you heard of a state being under budget, or what the hell's don't mind me, the kick in the heads and everything is,
it's fine.
My wife is like, you're very, very not good right now. But when was the last time you saw a state in the red? They're not, because all they do is they adjust that level. They got $1 million a kid coming. So if you got a kid, you got $7 million in the hole in Michigan or wherever, all they got to do is adopt 7 kids. And they got plenty of money to make up that balance right there. That's why they're having such an issue with this stuff. And this stuff goes way deeper than just, face value, and it's the foster money, and it's the $5. It's not the $5,000. It's the millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Just like you said, the kids that are trafficked. UN put out a report saying that 87% of the kids that they rescue overseas comes through CPS. 87%. That tells you a lot right there.
We're hearing the same thing from other countries.
And what are they worth? I mean, those are millions as it is to the federal dollars. Have these kids. Listen, here's the deal. How do you know if your kid's okay, or if they're missing, or if they're not, if you've been TPR'd? You don't, right? So who the hell's going to look for your kid? Nobody. You're one family away from no one giving a shit about your kid. That's really it. Like once that kid leaves you and you're TPR'd and you lose contact with them, that's it.
Nobody gets it. It's a number. They're just a number.
Yeah. Like, how are you even going to know that they're missing? You don't.
No.
So they got their own they got their own little perfect bubble that they live in. They've made dollars and cents out of our kids. They've created their own little sexual fantasy islands with this stuff. It's absolutely disgusting, and I can't even believe that they do it. But Trump, you know, they're gonna have to answer, man, because the Bible says don't fuck with the kids. Period, point blank. That's the one thing God says.
It's coming.
He's mad about that stuff, man.
The reckoning is here, and this is the time. It's all going to come down. It doesn't matter why. We're moving away from the Fed. We're abolishing the IRS is coming. All this stuff is coming down, and they're going to find out all these states that they'll take, and they'll lie to you. And this is the funniest one I love, Darren, is when a state says, well, you know, you've broken state law or you've for this.
No laws in states.
Make a law. States can't make laws.
Right.
That's unconstitutional. Did you just admit to a felony crime and an act of treason and sedition? You sure did. Because you have codes and statutes. They're not laws.
Those aren't even for me either. Those are for you to keep in line with your government acts and what you're doing.
Imagine a day.
Listen, all I'm supposed to be concerned with is don't hurt anybody and don't fuck with their shit. That's all you got to worry about, man. Other than that, on your way, man. Have a good life.
Whether I drive, I don't drive, this and that. It's just like Autobahn, and they're already experimenting with a lot of that stuff in Texas. We're going to have an American Autobahn in Texas. No speed limit. Why, hey, if you do it and you take your life into your own hands, well, you could hurt somebody and this and that. Welcome to freedom.
Yeah.
I'll take freedom over safety every time. And so did our founding fathers. Leave us alone. Let us live our lives.
Founding fathers were felons.
Yeah. Treasonous bastards.
And why did they come over here? So people wouldn't fuck with their families anymore. That's why they came here. And we're allowing the same thing. It's only taken 275 years to break the system that they fought so hard and went through so much bullshit to get to and create for us. And it only took us 270 something years to ruin it. I mean, isn't it funny that the whole rest of the world is surrounded by thousands of years of history, and we're the United States of America is 300. We're not even 300 years strong yet.
Yeah, we're a very, very young country, and actually, we're very overdue for a civil war compared to history. I mean,
I don't think we're going to do a civil war. I don't think this is a civil war. This is going to be a revolutionary war. This is time to take back what's ours. You know, civil war is the polite war. We're fighting our brother, and you know, like we have difference in ideas. We don't have difference in ideas. This government has just turned its back
this
on
is
us
unconstitutional.
Slapped us in the ass and stolen our kids, man. That's exactly what's happened.
Dumbed us down, took away, and it made us ignorant of our rights. So you didn't know how to fight and what you want. There's no wonder states and everybody else went after your Second Amendment, because let me tell you something, and this is going to be brought up, especially during the trial and everything else. And it's going to be asked right of Pam Bondi. If I'm showing you this evidence of treason and sedition for doing this stuff in all 50 states, what does the Constitution say we the people are obligated and have a duty to do? And Pam Bondi's going to have to answer. Well, it says this. Yeah. Now you know why these people don't want you to have guns. It's not for safety. It's for their safety. It's so they can control you, get on you. Because here's the thing. Back in the day when that stuff happened, you know what they did? They went and grabbed their musket or whatever was modern for the time, and they went and dragged the politician out and bam, or hung them from a damn tree or tarred and feathered them. Hell no. This ain't going to happen. The people said no. But the problem is we come up with, hey, look at all this cool stuff we can do and this and that. And here's the other thing. Capitalism doesn't work. It's evil. You realize capitalism was designed to tax our tariffs, our goods, and our products to where that paid for our government to run, to pay the politicians and everything. It wasn't supposed to come out of our pocket at all. We're not even supposed to be taxed.
Correct.
We're supposed to be able to
Civil War.
Yeah.
That happened in the Civil War.
Monetary system. Everybody turns around and they says the monetary system, well, if I want that, I have to go buy it or I have to do this and that. Why? Trade.
That's what Bitcoin is.
If I want to do something, I don't have to pay taxes on. If I want to trade you 4 chickens and 5 goats, and you've got a pickup truck, you and I are doing some trading.
Yeah. Problem solved. You need chickens. I need a truck. I don't care what you do with the chickens, but
I've got food. What do you want? What can we trade for? Let's barter. But we've lost
That was
that.
that was the whole idea behind Bitcoin when they came out with that. You know, like that was
Yeah.
supposed to be based on, you know, like what do you want to do? What is this worth to you? That's
Yeah.
what it was. You know.
And if you
And
were
then
taken
now
advantage
it's
of,
turned
that's
this.
when you went to the magistrate to
Mhm.
do a financial agreement to your magistrate of saying, we have an issue that we don't feel we were done right or within our trade. And the magistrate would look at it objectively and rule whether or not you were treated right or not, or work something out. And the same thing with and here's the other thing with your divorces. And this cracks me up. The judge comes in, well, this is the way it's going to be. And all these lawyers make money. It takes two people to walk in front of a magistrate and the magistrate say, listen, here's the rules. Everything you had before the marriage is yours. Everything during the marriage must be split, including the debt. That's it. Now come back, put it all on paper, and you're done. There's separation of contract. 50-50 with the kids. No more games. You get them half the time. You get them half the time. Work it the hell out. And the judge would turn around. Now,
that's what people don't realize. That's
No.
where we gave CPS authorization to come in and take our kids right there when we signed that marriage contract, because we said that we wouldn't be mentally stable enough and we wouldn't be adult enough to figure out how to separate our belongings and so on, which made our kids what? Belongings. That's funny that they put it in there that they could be belongings in that aspect, but not when we want it to be belongings, you know, for our, you know, for our own, you know, uses and everything.
Yeah.
You know, we can't
Danielle's
use it
wanting
that
you
way.
to
You can't
email
say
something earlier
like
when you were in the
Rick
back.
says, you know, all the time, on my biological property. You know, like they don't like
Right.
that. They don't say that stuff. Yes, Danielle, what would you like?
I don't know. She said something about, did you send out the email earlier in the chat? I don't know if you got.
Darib.
Hey, Darren, did you ever get a chance to send that email? Is what she said earlier in the chat. So I don't know. I guess something you guys talked about. Yes, that's Gunner. I don't know.
That's your name.
I know. It said Darren.
There's our names.
Darib. Look, there's Darib with a B. Hey, Darib.
Hey, Darren. You Gunner? You Gunner, Darren?
I believe so.
Which one is you, Gunner? You Gunner or Darren? Boy, it's real today, doesn't it? Don't you feel like I'm in the Oval Office?
Yeah.
It's my desk right here.
There you go. There's your desk. Squeaky, squeaky.
That's my Elon Musk. That's my Elon Musk.
But listen, you know what it came down to, and it shows it. It's the immaturity of fucking adults. You're not adults anymore. You're a bunch of fucking high schoolers going in there because something didn't work out, because now they've come up with a no-fault divorce, and who benefited from that? The state. That's exactly what it did. And then what did they do? Poison your food, fuck up with your kids in public education, and this is this, and this is that, and the lies. Now you feel what? Oppressed.
Yeah.
Oppressed. Now it's, I work 40 hours a week and I can't get ahead. And all this, you weren't designed to do that. You weren't designed to do that. Do you realize you were all designed to be independent contractors?
Yeah, we're not even supposed to be working.
No. You're supposed to be exchanging your skill set and your everything else with other people that have that.
I am a king is what you're supposed to be.
Yep. When you were the doctors in the early parts, when you had early medicine and some of the other things that would go out there, the doctors would trade off, especially for, hey, I'm sick and I don't have a lot of money. Well, that's okay. Bring me some pies, bring me some chickens, bring me some of this. And usually they were a plentiful.
Look at your tang, give me some pie.
Yeah. $20. It's $20. I mean, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. We are now so obsessed with a piece of paper, and it's not even tangible. It's a note.
Say something different. I'm not going to lie there.
It's a note. It's a note. It's as simple as a note. Just that simple. It's only a piece of paper. It's a piece of contract to settle a debt. But there's nothing tangible about it. And a lot of people I know when I ran my business and this and that there were people that didn't have a lot of money or a lot of other things. And one of the things we would do is, well, what do you have? And there's people that turn around, well,
there's many housewives that are.
Yeah. I mean, you know how many cars I got for like my kids growing up and this and that? Hey man, I got this car. Man, I'll take that as part of the payment, man. Don't even worry about it. and that would benefit you. And I'd put a little money in the car, and that'd be the kid's first car. And then they putz around till they blew the damn thing up. Hey, great first car, but hey, it did what it needed to do. You know, it had other things. Hey, I need this done, but you need this done. Hey, let's do a little trading. Okay, well, what's yours valued at of here and there? We would negotiate a deal, and then we'd write up the contract for this or this or that.
Yeah, she wants the leaky sink fixed. She wanted the leaking sink fixed. You know, that's it. Plummet.
I mean, and that was one of the things of how you took and bartered the debt. Yeah, a lot of debt. But
sure does leak, don't she?
Yeah. Stays one all the time, doesn't it?
I never understood why the TV repairman, you know, ended up top on the list.
I don't know. Everybody loved that entertainment, wasn't it?
Or the
one entertainment or the other. Or it was the mailman or the milkman, and that was the one that was left at home, and that was the biggest fear because most women stayed at home. Who was the man that came around the most when he wasn't there? It was the mailman. It was the thing.
Cheer festival. Oh my gosh, your husband's a TV guy?
Yeah, he's big pimping around town. He ain't married. He ain't got no reason to be married. Why? Yeah. He's servicing the whole neighborhood, and it would happen.
Everybody got free cable back then.
Yeah, and you got hey, the cable man, you slap, but hey, can you unlock all the channels, all the HBOs, and all that?
And he's like, hey, your wife already got that for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get called out. I had to be a midnight caller, this or that, and I'm not kidding. And this is messed up. I don't know if this happened to you, but in the electrical field, it was always funny because you would get some lonely women.
That's what I'm saying.
And get a service call, and it would be like, "Oh, my fan's out, or my light bulb. Can you come over and do? I think I've got an electrical thing." And you come out at night. Broken. Yeah, and it would be like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and take and fix this. And it's going to be so much for the service call, so much for this and so much. Well, that's fine. I'll pay that. But if you'd like a little extra in this, then next thing you know, they'd come out and teddy bears and take off this big old fuzzy rope. Or I mean, they wanted some attention of like, I think you got the wrong. This ain't, what do they call that? Gigolos are us type shit. No, I'm here to fix your shit, and I'm getting the hell out. But I got a buddy that's single if you want to talk to him. But and let me tell you something. We did one in downtown. I kid you not. It made me laugh. I was there with one of the older gentlemen. We were in a place downtown Knoxville, and it was on one of the high, like off the main downtown Knoxville in one of the loft places. So it was a very expensive place to stay. And one of the girls that was there, she was a high-end everything, spent all her time in school and all this other stuff. We come out to work on, I was doing electrical, but because it was there, it had to have everything has to be in conduit and everything else per the NEC code for downtown and everything else. So I had to go in there and do this. And the low voltage guy that was doing alarms and fires and everything else I'd put in that, well, we're doing, oh, hey, you guys want to do the game? And running around in some damn boy shorts and like a skimpy cut up t-shirt that there was nothing left of the imagination. And just all this, and my old buddy's like this. He's like, I got an old lady. He says, you're kind of, whatever. He says, but, damn. He says, she's just cruising. Hey, guys, you want me to order pizza? You guys want a beer? You want this? And it's just all this. I can call a couple of girlfriends over, and I'm just over here. I'm like, man, let's get the hell out of here before either one of us gets in some kind of weird-ass trouble. I mean, and that's just part of what you do, but you see it all the time. And it's not just that in the high rise and the expensive, it's in the trailers. My fart thing went out in my bathroom and this and this and that. Hey, baby, and you come out and like all your shit's missing. And it's like, damn, that's messed up. Trust me.
So does younger brother or sister.
My cousin, sister, brother, or something. Hey, listen, and it happens. And when I had employees, I literally had to tell them, guys, be on your guard for this stuff. And this is why. Because this does happen. If it does, be professional, do the job, collect the money, and get the hell out.
Do what you do.
I says, and they're like, oh, well, I go, listen, man, here's the other thing. You never know what that girl, you got to understand, you're a stranger. Maybe somebody that knows her she got more VD than what you need to know, and
Yeah,
there ain't
you don't
enough
know,
protection you can have, and you're going to get something
Right. That
you
rubber
can't
is
get rid of
melting
that a
in there.
shot can get rid of. And they're like, "Are you kidding?" I go, "Dude, you just don't know. It's a what they call an STD." I says, and some of that shit you can't get rid of.
You gotta be careful out there, man.
And but it's real, and that's what a lot would do. And like I said, there was several times, there was always the running joke back in the 70s and 80s is when the milkman came around, the postman, that she'd be running around in her little morning slip getting the milk, and she'd have her, her little lingerie, robe and everything else on, and this that coming down, well, hello, Mr. Milkman, and this, my husband's already left for work and nobody's here, and the kids are gone for school, and because he'd show up at a certain time. Or the mailman, everybody always wondered why all the kids in the neighborhood look just like the mailman. But that goes to, like I said, the core of our culture, that a lot of that stuff out there is a lot of people don't understand that there are people out there like that. There are people that are broken. There are people that are out there. They're just looking to be loved on. And because of a lot of trauma and a lot of brokenness, and they just want to be accepted. And instead of, but at the same time too, man, we started getting away from boundaries and circles and everything else that we used to have growing up. That, hey, there were certain boundaries, especially with coming out of World War II, there were certain things you just did not do. It was considered just a no-go situation. And that was taught. But now when you got CPS involved and they're taking away your culture and your family's history and all those teachings, now the state is raising the child, and they're looking at it as they're going to teach them a whole set of different values and what's acceptable and what's not. Do you think they're going to teach them about boundaries and circles and all that other stuff to say no and all this other stuff? No, they're going to say you're property of the state. And if you don't like it, you're going to go back to you're going to go back to the foster home where they're going to beat on you, pick on you, and everything else. Oh, here, stay here and stay safe. Well, if you just do this, you're going to be safe. And I mean, it's some sick bastards. And listen, there's some fucked up families out there, and I'm not going to deny it. There's some broken, torn up families out there that, those kids probably shouldn't be with that. But that's where your family's supposed to step in and go, hey, knock this shit off. But now they pussified everything, because if you go and somebody's beating on their old lady or really abusing their kids, and say the grandfather or the father of the daughters or whatever goes in there and goes, now I'm whooping your ass. I'm going to take you out in the yard and I'm going to beat the hell out of you. See how you like it. You touch him again. This is the first and last conversation we're having. You can't do that, because the pussy's going to pick up the phone. He assaulted me. He took and did this and this and that. And that's back when the cops were halfway decent and they'd look the other way. Guess you shouldn't have done that. We ain't doing nothing. Now, the first time you touch, fart on somebody or anything else, you're catching charges. You're catching charges. And it's a sense of power for law enforcement. Well, you shouldn't this and that. I'm trying to prevent something here, and you need to mind your own business. Here's the other part. This is a family issue. Fuck off. That's where law enforcement needs to back off with some of that stuff and go, hey, what were you do? If anything, take this motherfucker out and beat the shit out of him. There were several law enforcement that used to, well, we're going to take him to the jail, but we may stop by a few places in the middle of the dark and out in the back roads and tune him up a little bit. And he fell, and they didn't give a shit. But at least some of those people learned a lesson not to do it again, because they had the fear of God put in them. Now there's no accountability. I mean, none.
Nope, sure not.
I mean, and I think that's the thing. I think law enforcement should piss off and let us, we the people, govern our fucking selves. Just that fucking simple. If we got to go out and throttle somebody, well, we ain't going to kill him, but we got to beat the hell out and make sure he doesn't do it again. But at the same time, those people would come in and check on them, make sure that they had enough, make sure that they had food, make sure their kids were looked after, all these different things. I mean, and it's even well known within certain, we'll say families, that if somebody had to, up and take a long permanent vacation somewhere, that they still looked after the family and the kids and all those other things, that there was an amount of respect. Hey, you did, hey, that so-and-so's gone. Maybe they got remarried, maybe to somebody different, but there was still a code. You didn't mess with that family, or you didn't step into that role of, with Jody, in a way of a Jody, in a sense. Even when guys would go off to be locked up, one of the rules was you don't mess with somebody's old lady if they're locked up, no matter what it is. There was just a sense of a rule.
Gunner, I got a thing. I got to bounce here real quick. If you're on when I get back, I will be right back. But I got to go. I got to go do something real quick.
Okay.
So,
well, we're going to probably wrap up, but I'll be here.
Or I won't.
Well, if not, just holler at me afterwards.
All right. Will do, my friend.
Call me on the phone.
Everybody, y'all have a good night.
Punisher, go get him. But guys, that's where we failed a lot as a country, and our Constitution has done this. This is not the way we're supposed to be living. And that's what this is about. We've had enough. We've had enough interference in our lives. This country is not about the vast majority. It's about individual liberty. Leave my individual liberty alone. And with the way that we structured and everything else, where you must go to school, you must register for this. If you don't register for school, and even if you think about homeschooling or something like that, what happens? CPS is on your door. You didn't register your school, or you're truant. Now they're in some states, they're actually doing and pressing charges against parents for not doing and complying. And once again, that's unconstitutional, because now you're forcing your belief system on, well, every kid has to go to school. Great, but I choose to do this. Did you give me an alternative? No, that's called coercion to contract. Because when you put them in state institution, there's a contract. It's even so bad with public schools that they actually have you sign that little form, parents, at the beginning. Do not sign that. Don't. Because when you do, you're signing over the rights to your child while they're in the custody of the state or the county. And a lot of people don't know that. And I said the same thing to the county school with my kids. I ain't signing shit. And then when they would bring certain things up, as they would come up through the school year, they'd turn around and say, hey, well, you signed that paperwork, so you have to agree. No. I didn't sign jack shit, and nobody did. You never got that, because I'm not contracting with you. That's just as simple. You're to do this, and that's it. Their rights are still their rights. Brendan, which link are you talking about? The one I'm supposed to give you? Because I can send that through the back room, if that's the case. Something about you got the link. I'll have to send it to you. But yeah, there's a lot of this out here. Brenda, just send me a text or something, and I can get you what you need. But guys, that's what's going on. And that's how far we are away from the Constitution. That's why we're trying to take and explain to you guys freedom. And that's going to be a lot psychologically you're going to have to deal with. What's it like to live, to actually live and be free? What's that look like? Oh, our money systems are going to do this and that. What about the Social Security? What if you knew that you had so much money that you couldn't have access to, that they lied about, that you could buy a house, that you could buy a vehicle, you could have all these things, and you didn't have to pay a damn thing for it? I mean, there's a lot of truth to those trusts. Go down the rabbit hole. They exist, and they will admit it. They've even had judges admit it in court. Judges and the state take and admit that stuff in court. Oh no, we have this and that. We've been tricked into a lot of stuff. You've been tricked that when you come into the hospital, that they're going to give you, that you have to have a Social Security. I mean, they will send CPS after you if you leave the hospital without a Social Security card and a birth certificate. I mean, I've heard several reports of that. Well, we chose not to. We don't have to. Well, the hospital gets pissed because you know how much money they file on that first claim to the Social Security, what's in there? Huge. The first person to get paid when your child's born is that hospital with that Social Security number. They get a bonus, a huge amount of money for every single one that's in there. And then they put the child on that, and then they file for state custody and all that, the state insurance and all those other things or those programs. That's where they trick you. And they've created the environment for you to be poor. That's the sad part. I mean, they have, and then you're punished for it. Oh, you're a bad parent. You're this. You created this. And this is what you wanted to create it. So and then you don't know your rights. And then you got judges and magistrates and all these corrupt attorneys and bar associations and all these, bastards that, well, you have to conform. You have to, fuck you. I want my individual fucking liberties. Piss off. And that's why I'm looking forward to like April Lejeune and a couple of the others that are going to come on that are actually going to explain it. Actually has a way to do all these things, and it's legal. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you're talking about sovereign city. No, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being free, but being federal, which is the way you're supposed to be. The states are only supposed to manage the businesses, the corporations, and all that other stuff on a state level. That's all they're supposed to do, not us as free private citizens. Now, the difference between that, no, you're not talking about a license plate that says private and all that. No, you can actually get a free plate as a private citizen if you know how to do it from the U.S. Department of Transportation. But they don't tell you that. No cost, no insurance, none of that stuff. All gone. But you got to know how to claim and undo the web or the cocoon that they've tried to put you in, and have to file the proper paperwork for everything in there. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, but like I said, there's April Lejeune, and I think Darren was talking about somebody else that's true. This is a proven thing. And once they fought stuff to the federal court level to where the federal courts have stood behind the private citizen. Now the state's going to try and jack you up and everything else like that. Yeah, because they want you to be part of the system, and they don't want you to know that. But every time you'll see people, I beat them in federal court. I beat them in federal court. I mean, you guys have seen all the little YouTube videos and some of the TikToks of the guy with the glasses that comes down, older gentleman with the cap. Oh, I don't agree with that, or I'm not going to contract with this. I mean, the guy talks real fast. You got another older gentleman that, with a beard and with a cowboy hat and all this other stuff, and he's got his folder right there. Here's my case where I kicked your ass. You can't. I have federal ruling on my side. You cannot. You want to be sued again? Because you'll lose your job and everything else, and I'll turn you inside out and make more money off of you. But you got to know what your rights are, how to fight for them, and how to do things. I mean, even doing I don't know if Danielle's still in here, but even working with some of this ADA bot. Listen, it's so stupid simple of just talk to it. Keep it simple. Keep it about constitutional rights the best you can within the parameters of your case. Everything else is up to you to add later for your own personal case. That's why we don't want anything from you. We don't want your money. We don't want donations. We're not fundraising. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. That is up to you. These are the two. Now we're only asking you to do a victim's affidavit. I was affected, or my rights was done like that. That's the statement that, we're asking for. Compared to, other movements. And a lot of people said, a lot of the advocates out there I had to have a conversation with is just real simple. I'm not an advocate. We're not advocates. Sharon and I, we're not advocates at all. Okay. Those are other people. And I've heard other people bash this advocate or this advocate. I don't care. I'm not with you guys. I'm not an advocate. I'm here to tear this down. You guys have a lot of contact, and it's called networking, to say, I want to network with you to turn around and get some of the people you've come in contact with, that have messed up cases, that have constitutional rights violation and taken their kids and or drain them and or this, a new case, an old case. It doesn't matter. An open case, a closed case. file the affidavit of constitutional rights violations. Once Darren and I get done working on this damn letter done, it's going to be a checkmate move for them. You're done. You can't adjudicate anymore. You are now being served papers of saying you are part of treason and sedition as an actor of the state. We're going after the states, not their actors, the core of it, for unconstitutional policies and procedures and practices. And yes, we have all the evidence, and so does the FBI. Just that simple. So no, we're not talking about slap them, get rid of a judge. Why? Because if you get rid of some CPS workers, you get rid of a judge or a magistrate, this, that, you know what's standing behind them? All those lawyers that are out in the field practicing family law and everything else, guess what they're going to do? They're coming right in to fill those positions. Hey, say hello to the new boss. Same as the old boss. And that's exactly what this is. And that's the part that's going to take and hurt people. I don't think that a lot of people understand. But learn how to live free. Start learning your rights, guys, because listen, it's coming, and you better be prepared for what's coming. Otherwise, you're going to be caught because you're not going to know what to do. But it's just sad that all that stuff is going on. Guys, we appreciate everything that you guys do. Get that word out. Keep pumping each other up. Spread love. Spread encouragement to each other. Give people hope. This is coming. Get the word out there. Why? Because it's coming. More to come. More information as it develops. Like I said, it's game over time. They're in check. This is not a checkmate move. What is checkmate move? When we hit that federal courtroom. And yes, we're early in our case. We haven't even reached mediation yet. And they're already scared shitless. I had a talk with a woman just the other day talking to New Hampshire. Some of their senators and all the other things that got into an actual meeting with some of the heads of state and talked about the reckoning and what was happening. And they literally ended it because they didn't realize what was going on. But when they heard about it, they flipped out because they knew, oh crap, our time's coming. They know. They're waking up and they know it's coming. They just don't know when or where. So guys, keep up the fight. Don't give up. Stay positive. Love on each other. Build each other up. Give hope. And get prepared for those kids to come out. And don't forget our new show, Sharon's Heaven on Monday. It's going to be Beauty from Ashes. And Chris has got her show. I did get with her. She was kicking around a few. That's why I didn't know the exact name from it. But she did decide on it. It's Redacted and Reckoned. So Chris has got a new show out. She's going to get with Darren. We're going to get her show scheduled out there. Stay tuned. We've got a website coming up that's going to have all this other stuff out there. A lot of big changes just to get this out. But guys, it's spreading. It's all 50 states and it's coming. It's here. Thanks again, guys. Have a great evening. Catch us again tomorrow. We have the Tiff and Punisher show. Brenda's on, I believe, right after that. And then I believe we have a late show. And I think Danielle may be in there somewhere too. But guys, thanks again. Stay strong. Here we go. Welcome to Freedom. Welcome to the Record.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPUFist.com is leading the way. Join us.